Hello, good afternoon. So this talk will be a short talk about this botnet that is pre-installed on TV boxes, and it's it will be like the journey that I did from starting on the research from the malware until we get full visibility over the infected bots. So I'm a senior threat researcher at BitSite. I do malware. I track malware botnet since 2018. In my daily job, I do malware analysis and reverse engineering. And one of my main goals at my team is to collect malware IOCs, which is usually is done by do domain sinkholing, C2 domain sinkholing, malware emulators. I also do sometimes do some data mining on various data sets. So in today's talk about Vo1d, I'll start to introduce what Vo1d is, review some previous research on this malware. Then I'll be just showing briefly some key parts of how the malware works. And then at least the key parts that we'll discuss in this presentation. Then I'll show some techniques to hunt for samples and for infected devices. Then I'll mention some malware families that are related to this botnet, some takeaways, and if there's time, some questions. So let's introduce the Vo1d. So this is first seen botnet by Dr. Web, a Russian AV, in September 2024. They saw it pre-installed on at least 3 TV boxes running old versions of the Android open source project. These are uncertified devices, which is different from Android TV devices, which are devices certified by Google. The Dr. Web saw 1.3 million devices infected with this malware in 200 countries, and 30% of them were coming from Brazil. And they mentioned that the malware is basically the main purpose of the malware is to drop other payloads into the devices, other components, modules to perform various tasks, whatever the threat actors want. And in the last February, the Shenzhen XLabs, the Chinese company, released some in-depth research on this malware. They saw a growth in the infections, in the number of infections. They saw it 33% growth to 1.6 million devices. And they saw that the malware was being used to drop payloads with some specific functionality. Some of the functionality, the most interesting functionality was to turn the device into a proxy. So basically allowing the malware to be part of an anonymous proxy network to power up anonymous proxy services. Also, they saw some evidence that the malware was being used to perform advertisement fraud. These researchers also learned that there are other possibilities for use of this botnet. One is to perform denial of service attacks, since this is a very huge botnet that can have great impact on the target. Also, they mentioned briefly about that this malware can be used to broadcast misleading content, because basically the device has access to the TV, so it can broadcast whatever the actors want. And these researchers found lots of infrastructure, which makes this botnet more resilient. Including 27 command and control servers. And also they mentioned that the malware uses a domain generation algorithm, so DGA, to find C2 servers. And this got our attention. But let's just define quickly what is the domain generation algorithm and how it is used. So it's basically code that is used by malware to generate many pseudo-random domain names. This helps the bot locate their command and control server, so it can get tasks, payloads, wherever. This technique here helps the malware avoid detection, because the domains will rotate frequently. For instance, if the if the malware authors use the current date as seed, for instance, the list of domains will change every day, so it will be harder to detect and take down. And so basically, since this technique generates a lot of noise and a lot of domains that will be queried and are not registered, one can register available domains and get requests from compromised systems. And BitSight does that since 2014 and reduces domains from many different families that use this technique to get infection telemetry. And XLab did that, so they sinkhole voids by registering their DGA domains. So this research here was basically it was basically my journey from reversing the DGA and sinkholing void. That's what we are going to do today. At least I will show you how I did it. So let's reverse void. So the main goal here is to find the DGA code so we can implement it and generate the domains. So we need to understand how the void's execution flow. The DGA part is on the third stage, let's say, of the malware. I will not go into detail of the other stages. It's just we would just go straight to the binary that we want. In this case, the malware authors called this malware, this part of the malware, this stage, called it void. That this is the name of the actual malware that the researchers gave it. This binary decrypts and runs an embedded payload, which in fact has the functionality, the DGA logic and functionality. And so very briefly, the DGA is used to find a C2 through DNS, of course. This is not like the actual C2. It will be a redirector C2 for the real C2. So that IP will be contacted using a custom TCP protocol, RSA encrypted, in order to get the real C2. And after the malware gets that real C2, it will start communicating with that real C2, also using a custom TCP protocol, RSA encrypted, in order to get tasks to download additional payloads and so on. So basically, our goal here is to have a look at this sample, right? So when trying to find this sample on VirusTotal, it was not in there. This is the sample that the XLab researchers were researching, reversed, but this was not on VirusTotal. So this probably the reason why is that this is pre-installed malware, so it's hard to get samples easily, public samples, I mean. So we basically asked the XLab guys for a void sample and they promptly shared one, so thanks Alex for that. Once we get the sample, we still need some work to do, of course. So we need, as I mentioned, the sample has some encrypted payload, so we need to sort of unpack this sample. Thankfully, the XLab guys already researched that part, so I just needed to apply their learnings. And so very quickly, if you open the sample on the Detected Easy, there's the data section has a very high entropy, above 7.8, so that usually hints that this is encrypted data. So if we open, for instance, this sample on Git the disassembler, for instance, and go to that data section, just search for the biggest blob of data with a cross-reference, we can just extract those bytes and input it into the algorithm they use. In this case, it's a modified version of the XXTT algorithm. Yeah, the keys are coded. So in the sample, so just decrypt that, and you get the actual main part of the malware. So we are now on the main part of the malware, but we still need to find the DGA code, right? So usually we start with the strings, just look for interesting strings that are related to domains or whatever, but there were not many strings, and this is weird. And usually that probably many of the strings will be encrypted, and that was the case. So if we go into the main function, one of the first functions that is called is S32 cross-references, and the first argument is a global variable which will collect random bytes. So this is by quickly checking with also the research that XLab guys did. This is definitely a custom string decryption algorithm that they already reversed. So you just need to use that. It's not that easy to understand as well, but we just use what they reversed already. And so we start decrypting all of these 32 strings that were being decrypted, and eventually we found these strings that are related to the DGA. So the TLDs top, com, and net, which have all cross-references for the same function. So just we probably found the DGA function, we think. One important thing to mention here is that also close by to these strings that were decrypted, there were some C2, some domain that was also there encrypted, but it was actually registered, so we couldn't register it. So yeah, so let's go into the function that has those 3 TLDs, and yeah, so we find the DGA code here. On the left is the pseudocode from Ghidra, decompiled. And yeah, it's just a matter of implementing this in Python, for example. I find it easier for me. And there's one thing left here in order to generate domains, which is the DGA needs a seed. And usually the threat actors use, for instance, the current day or the current month to use as seed to generate domains. But in this case, the threat actors used strings, encrypted strings on the binary to use as seed. So all the domains that they generate will be always the same for a single sample, basically. But yeah, we still needed to extract them, so it was not hard. They were encrypted as the strings were, so you just extract them, decrypt them, and use them to generate the domains. We did that, generated a bunch of domains, and checked which ones were available, registered a couple of them, and we got telemetry, infection telemetry, from about 250K IPs daily, which is good, not bad, but it's far from 1.6 million, the values that the XLab guys were seeing. So we thought maybe we need more seeds, so let's hunt for samples. That's usually the case. So let's hunt Vo1d. So the first approach to hunt this malware that we did was look on VirusTotal and specifically using a YAR rule based on the string decryption loop. You could also have used, I could also have used some strings on the binary, but I chose to do this because usually these encryption algorithms don't change that much, and so I find this a very good way to create good YAR rules. However, we were able to only find 15 samples on VirusTotal, which is a bit short. But still, we download those samples, unpack them, and got the seeds, the DGA seeds from them. It's a manual process, as I explained. And okay, we were able to find a little bit more infected IPs, so 350K daily, which is still good, but far from 1.6 million. So, but then we thought, wait, but because we were out of ideas. So, but we thought, wait, but we know how Vo1d downloads payloads because the XLab guys did the reverse toll protocol, and they show how the malware does that. So maybe we can get Vo1d samples directly from the C2 server. So that's what we went doing. So basically understanding the communication protocol, let's say the loader protocol of the malware, which is not very hard to understand, although this is a bit, the slide is a bit crowded, but it's not that hard. One key aspect of the protocol is that the bot receives a task, It's like a JSON, and on that JSON has like a file name that it will download from the C2. And so we basically, on the protocol, we need to pass a file name to the C2 so we can get that pillow. And it's usually a short file name, so it's 5 characters or around 5 characters or less. And so basically, we implemented this protocol and tried to brute force the file names until we get some void samples using this. Yeah, and it worked. We eventually found a couple of samples that we could extract more seeds. Yeah, so just combining, as a first approach, combining these two techniques the virus total retro hunting and the loader protocol emulation, we were able to find 11 void samples, that is unpacked samples, which contain the DGA logic decrypted. And in these 11 samples, we found seven different groups of seeds, which may correspond to 7 botnets. We are not sure. And by registering all these seeds, we were able to get an increase in infections, so 400K IPs daily. But it was again still far from 1.6 million. So basically, we need more seeds. That is clear. So we should probably continue brute forcing the file names and get more seeds. But in the meantime, we noted that the XLab researchers were mentioning that they saw void domains in lists of top domains, such as the Tranco top 1 million list. And so this got us thinking that maybe we can find more domains in lists of top domains, and also maybe on DNS logs, because we have access to DNS logs. So basically in passive DNS feeds. That's what we went to do, because this is all a tiring process to implement all of this and unpack all the samples and extract the seeds. This is all a lot of work. So let's try hunts on passive DNS and make our lives easier. So most of the void domains are not registered. So the DGA generates a bunch of domains, and most of them will return an X domain when you do a DNS record query. Fortunately, BitSite has access to passive DNS feeds with the NX domain queries. And one key factor in this is that all these void domains, all these void DGA domains, match a very specific regex pattern. So all the domains start with 5 lower character letters. Then it follows by 11 characters of the seed. Usually the seed is a X string, so it's A to F, 0 to 9. And finishes with one of 3 TLDs, .top, .net, .com. So this is very specific, we thought. And then we just thought maybe we can just use this regex against our data sources, our passive DNS data sources, and see what we get. The pros of this technique is that it will be way faster than hunting for samples, as I showed. And it may be future-proof unless the detectors decide to change the DGA algorithm or the seed format, for example. So these are the findings from the two sources. One is free, which is the Tranco list. It's a list of top domains, combines many different lists of top domains. And it's mostly registered domains, but still we found 113 domains that match these regex. And actually, you see there in the third domains, there is the actual domain that we saw in the sample that was hard-coded. So this is a good hint that we are on the right way, on the right path. And also, you can notice that there are all just .com TLD and no .net or .top. And maybe we can leverage this to find available domains, because if the domains use different TLDs, 3 TLDs, so maybe we can find available domains on the top or the .net, and that was the case. There were available domains that way, so we can find void domains that way to register. Also, on the paid sides, the NX passive DNS sources, which are mostly unregistered domains, We found a bunch of them, 328K in a single day, for instance. So yeah, it's a great result so far. So let's see, let's register a bunch of domains and see what we get from this. And we finally reached the values, the counts that we were hoping to reach. So currently we are seeing 1.4 million IPs contacting our sinkholes infected with Vo1d, and with peaks up to 1.6 million, as the XLab guys saw. And this didn't require any malware reversing. It was just filtering on some passive DNS sources and top domain lists, basically. If we combine all the results, so we registered a bunch of DGA domains, but we also caught a lot of domains that were hard-coded in the samples and that were available for some reason, and maybe the threat actors forgot about renewing them. And combining all of these domains, we're currently seeing 2 million IP addresses contacting our sinkholes daily. This actually includes the domain that we saw previously, because that domain was registered at the time that we first saw it. But eventually we added like to a watch list, and eventually it became available, and we snatched them quickly. So we basically starting seeing a huge chunk of infected devices that way also. And most of these are, if we map to sectors, it's mostly the telecommunication sector, although there are some interesting sectors there, like the government sector, but it will be mostly residential IPs. And by the way, in a week, it's 4.5 million IPs, which is great results, I guess. So now some relations to the Vo1d. The biggest relation I could find was the bedbox relation. So it's the largest botnet of internet-connected TVs. Google mentioned that they saw 10 million devices infected with this, and they range from TVs to TV boxes, digital projectors, video infotainment units, picture frames, tablets, all these devices running old versions of the not necessarily old, but versions of the Android open source project. So all uncertified devices. All of these devices have the malware pre-installed in them, and actually Vo1d is was seen as one of the backdoors used by this bedbox operation. That is the connection. The connection is there, and it was made by human security. Actually, Google took legal action last May, also in coordination with the FBI, and the FBI released an announcement to warn the public about this botnet. They sinkholed part of this botnet, and they use the Shadow Server Foundation to do that. And the geographic distribution is very, very similar to what we are seeing on Vo1d. So on Vo1d, we see mostly Brazil, Turkey, South Africa, India, China, and Indonesia, although it's widespread. And on the bedbox side, it's also widespread, but it's mostly Brazil, India, Indonesia, South Africa. So, and also I see Russia there. One of the things that the XLab guys saw evidence was that this malware was dropping payloads related to proxying web traffic. And actually, we started recently doing some investigations on residential proxy services, and we have evidence that the Vo1d IPs are showing up as exit nodes of several residential proxy services. We are not sure if this botnet is being rented. We're not sure if all of these some of these services are resellers of others. This is all currently under investigation by many parties. Yeah, finally, some takeaways from this. So IoT botnets clearly on the rise. In this specific case, it's devices that are uncertified and are running, so cheap devices that are running Android open source project. not the certified Android TV software. So botnets of millions are powering criminal ecosystems, such as anonymous proxy services, probably also denial of service attacks, and clearly also ad fraud. DGA is still very much in use today. It increases botnet resilience to takedowns, to many different types of attacks. Also, collaboration is key here. It was very nice from the guys from XLab to share some intelligence. It was crucial for this research. So all the findings, all the samples, the analyses are very important. Also, coordinated action, that is disruptions and stuff. It's vital to counter these resilient botnets. Another thing is to explore different angles. In this case, we did some reversing in the beginning to show that we could get visibility that way, but it was not the only way to get that visibility. We pivot to some more simpler process, and we got great results. So sometimes you have to take a look back and try other approaches, and it will pay off. And most of all, be careful with what you connect to the internet, especially if it's low cost, off-brand, and uncertified devices. Thank you.
Great talk, thank you. Here, yeah. I have a question. Were you able to fingerprint the infected with the malware that was pre-installed, so you can link to a manufacturer that may be compromised, or were different hardwares, or is a software? Were you able to find the root cause for this?
So I didn't dig into that. Most of the devices were Chinese manufactured, and it's actually it's hard to get information about the device, the actual devices, through the DGA, because the way that it is implemented, it will not give any indication about what the IP, what is behind the IP, basically. So I didn't get into that, but it's mostly Chinese devices that you can find on AliExpress and other stores of the like.
Have you asked BitSite to go to Brazil and investigate yourself, or no?
What? Sorry?
Have you asked BitSite to buy the trip to Brazil and investigate yourself?
That would be a nice trip. Yeah. Yeah. So devices that are cheap will be used by people that do not have developing countries that do not have access to or that have the knowledge to do better. So yeah, that's probably why that's affecting a lot of those countries. Yeah.
André, great talk. I know I'm biased, but it was a really great presentation. That's many millions of devices infected. When the attackers have a foothold so high on the supply chain, do you have an opinion, like how can the average Joe protect himself when he's buying some piece of equipment? There's probably companies putting TV boxes or TVs actually inside their facilities, providing an attacker a foothold into the internal network. Probably half of them will crash in 2038, but if you want to protect yourself before 2038, what advice do you have?
To protect against this?
Yes, when you're purchasing stuff. We stand a chance as consumers, that's my question.
I'm not sure I know how to answer that question. I would advise not to be careful on what you are buying and from where you are buying it. If it looks cheap, if it looks suspicious, maybe you have a pie hole in your house if you buy stuff like that, and have a look at the logs. But I would advise not just do that just for research purposes, but do not buy stuff from AliExpress that you connect in your home and to the internet. At least not from brands that are unknown. You can buy, of course, from big brands, but not smaller ones that you don't even understand. You don't even know about it. I would advise against that. That's my advice.
Great. Thank you. If there are further questions, of course, I'm sure André will be around for you to reach out. Let's also continue kind of almost on schedule, so it's great. Thank you, André, once more.
Okay.
We'll have now